50, you don't lose strength. You lose the moments that prove you still have it. And the worst part, you don't notice it happening because you're still training. You're still putting in the time, still walking out thinking you've worked out hard. The thing is, you probably haven't tested yourself properly in a long time. You've been managing the work in the gym. And if you're really honest, you might notice the difference. Now, this doesn't start when you stop training. It starts when you quietly remove moments that give you a real answer. That's the shift. And it's rather subtle. You add more exercises. You extend your workout sessions. You change angles. You fill in time. It looks disciplined, and it looks like you're being ultra responsible. It feels like structure, but it creates distance. Distance from a moment where something actually gets decided. And this doesn't stay in the gym, because after 50, the real fear isn't aging, it's becoming unreliable. Losing clarity halfway through the day and needing more recovery than life allows. Avoiding strain instead of stepping into it. Having your wife do all the heavy lifting. Now, feeling capable until something in life leans on you. And that's where it really starts. Not in your body, but in your general standards. But Simon, I've always trained hard. I know what I'm doing in the gym. When I train a muscle group, I need lots of different exercises. I've seen others do it, and it's worked perfectly for me. I've always done it this way. Good. Well, answer this. When was the last time one set per exercise gave you a clear answer? Not 3 to 5 that that lets you ease into the exercise slowly. Not an hour that lets you spread out effort. One set. One moment where you didn't get to adjust. You didn't get to hide behind things like fatigue. You didn't get to manage your way through a workout session slowly. Because longer training doesn't create that moment I'm talking about. In fact, it removes it. It gives you room to negotiate with your workout. And you may have felt it. That moment, the instance where the movement demands more control from you and your body tries to change the rules. Sometimes it does it by stopping short. Sometimes it does it by trying to rush through the set, shortening the movement, the range of motion, finding a way through it instead of owning the actual exercise. And this is where some can get it wrong. You try to push harder, but that's not the standard. Because if you were being honest, most sets in the gym, if you were to look around, don't have a standard. They start off loose and sloppy. Then the person ends up relying on momentum and speed to get through that set. Then they end up chasing things like fatigue and the pump instead of using control. So there's nothing to hold on to when it actually matters. So let's define this properly. Now, if you want that unbreakable strength well after 50 for decades to come, you've got to start right at the beginning, the repetition. Because a real rep starts with a standard. Start with position locked in place. Tension from the very first inch. No momentum, no speed at any point of the repetition that can carry you through it. Now the standard exists. And once that standard is set, that's the line you don't cross. The set doesn't end when you feel tired or when you've reached 10 repetitions. It ends when you can't maintain the standard anymore. Not because it burns, and not because you want more. Because the rep changes. Because control has been lost. Because your body tries to escape it, and it can't do another rep cleanly. That's the answer. And it doesn't take a multitude of working sets to find it. It takes one honest set. And that's because 5 managed sets don't equal 1 exposed one. Now, before you think this is some newfangled way of training, the style of training that I'm talking about has been around since the 70s. Now, muscle doesn't grow from how long you stay in the gym. It grows from how clearly you challenge that muscle. Clear tension, clear control, clear demands. That's it. And when you were younger, you could get away with blurring those lines, with a ton of volume, more speed, more chaos, because you still got results, because that margin was wide. Because after 50, sometimes even before 50, you don't get that margin anymore. Now the signal has to be more precise, because the moment it gets diluted with too much volume in the gym, the response disappears. This is where the story usually cracks. But Simon, if I do less, I'm going to start shrinking. No, my friend. You'll lose size when your body stops being asked to adapt. And right now, most training is asking your body just to tolerate the work, to endure, to stay busy, not to upgrade. That's why you can train longer and feel like less is happening, because less is happening. The demand is scattered, and that's what I mean by diluted. You're turning your workout into something your body has to survive instead of something your body has to answer. And when that starts to become the pattern, it follows you around. You get really efficient at avoiding strain. You become reliable at protecting yourself from being exposed until something real in life shows up, and then you feel it. That hesitation, that gap. The moment you feel that you're not as solid as you thought you were. Now, this isn't about building muscle anymore. This is about becoming the man who holds well under pressure, that pressure of life. Because after midlife, strength isn't a performance, it's a condition. And it's a condition your life depends on. Your clarity, your stability. What about your ability to carry weight without folding? Now, this is about becoming difficult to break. Not impressive, not busy in the gym for hours, but reliable. So here's your next move. So on your next session, pick one exercise. Set your position so you're concentrating on your form. Create tension from the very start of the exercise and own every inch. And the best way to do that is to delete momentum and speed. So you can see in this video, I'm using a 10 up and a 10 down. Now, you don't have to go that extreme. You could do a 5 seconds up and a 5 seconds down. That creates ultra tension on the muscle and relieves your joints and connective tissue of all of that strain. No shortcuts, no escape for that muscle. And the moment that, that standard breaks, you stop the set. That's your answer. Run that across 2 or 3 movements. Then leave. Not guessing whether the workout worked for you, or not hoping it did, or you're just going through the motions, but knowing that if you keep on choosing what you were doing in the first place, it feels just safe. And that will keep you feeling very familiar, right up to the moment that familiar leaves the room with some of your strength and your muscle. They call that sarcopenia. Now, the standard that you set for every workout is what makes you reliable in the long run. The mission continues. Peace.